Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening, and Happy New Year. Welcome to a 2020, 2024 new edition of the Urban Sentinel Live Show. And I want to welcome everybody to the show tonight here on PODTV.tv. Appreciate you joining in. Generally, I come on Tuesday nights, but I had to switch up to Wednesday night this week. Next week, we will be back in our regular time slot, which will be Tuesday nights at 8 o'clock here on PODTV.tv. So glad, hope everyone had a good holiday and brought in the new year in a good way. Here and there, we're getting ready for 2024. We're getting ready to run down to the finish line as we elect a new president, okay? We got the road. And so one of the things we're going to do this year, we're going to try to inform our listeners as much as possible about what's going on here in politics here in our country. Now, I realize that this show does go worldwide, so it might be people in other areas of the world that are listening to this or viewing this show. But one of the things we will do, we will give you the opportunity to learn more about politics here in the United States, which at times can stink, okay? I'll be honest with you, though. I don't think there's no country in the world that has a perfect line on politics, okay, and how to do it. I think every country out there has problems from time to time with politics and the election of officials to run their country, state, city, whatever. So that's one of the things we're going to do this year because we do have some hot races out there this year. We have President of the United States being, like I said earlier, is up for election this year. And here in the state of Maryland, we have the opportunity to have the first woman of color become a U.S. Senator. So a lot of buzz around that. And hopefully that can happen, So it'll take a lot of hard work for individuals in the community to get out and help Miss Austin Brooks. She's a county executive in Prince George's County, Maryland. And she has a good shot, good chance. So I would do my best and do whatever I can do to help her out, help her win this year. Okay, so before we really get digging down in some of the dirty aspects of politics, I want to discuss tonight. Let's look at some sports. Always got to bring the sports in. Okay. For you Alabama fans, I see Nick Saban has decided to hang up his coaching shoes. He's decided to move on. Okay. So I wonder how Alabama will be going forward. But it does bring some heartbreak when nationally renowned coach like him leaves. The number 9 recruit decided to back out of their commitment to Alabama with Saban leaving. So you're going to see a lot of that happen. Because a lot of times when young men go into these programs, whether it's basketball, baseball, track and field, or whatever, they go into the programs because of the coach, okay? Because they feel like they have an opportunity to progress and to learn more. And that coach is the one person that entices them and moves them to go to a certain school. So he's out. Okay. And then with the Seahawks out in Seattle, they got rid of Pete Carroll. Now, I didn't see that coming. I saw a lot of the coaches' jobs being asked. I saw those jobs, the loss of jobs coming to those individuals that got asked on Monday in the NFL. But didn't never see Pete Carroll. But he's out after 14 seasons, which is a long time to coach in NFL. But we got the Teflon King in Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh Steelers coach Mike Tomlin. He's still hanging in there, okay? Hats off to him. I forgot how many seasons it is, but I think it's a double-digit season number where he has had a winning season, hasn't had a losing season in Philadelphia yet, but hasn't won a Super Bowl one time in the time he's been in Pittsburgh, but hasn't had a losing season. So hats off to him. And then we see what else is going on in. Let me see what else is going on in sports. Oh yeah, and for you young men out there looking to play basketball, please do. NBA just signed Kawhi Leonard to a $153 million extension. Oh, well, I guess I get mine one day. I'll give myself a raise and give myself an extension for that much. But hey, hats off to Kawhi Leonard for racking up the money. Okay, so that's enough of sports. I want to get down.
I had a question for you about sports. Actually, I had two questions for you about sports. One is Belichick going to ever leave? Because, some of his expatriate players think that he's going to stay around in New England. And one of his assistant coaches apparently is leaving to come over here because he's got a Duke opportunity. So he might be coming our way as one of the coaches, but he won't be, I don't think, the head coach, but he'll be taking a Duke opportunity. I'm not sure exactly what the Duke opportunity will be, but it does look like he's coming this way for a opportunity at Duke. But definitely there has been speculation as to whether Belichick will stick around at New England or whether he might be hanging it up like Pete Carroll, because apparently there's things up in the air with Belichick and the New England Patriots. So I just wanted your thoughts as to whether Belichick is going to stick around or whether he's going to be jetting and going off into the sunset, much in the way that Pete Carroll did, and all in that way. But definitely it looks like there could be some ideas of that. But I was wondering your thoughts around that.
Well, if Belichick stays at the New England with the New England Patriots, he's just going to be coaching, okay? I think I can see Kraft's going to take back everything. General manager hat, he's going to put somebody in a position, somebody in charge of player personnel. He'll put somebody in charge, he'll make somebody president of the organization if he decides to keep Belichick. And that's a big if. And I think with Kraft, I think it's a hard decision for him to make because they have been together for so many years, okay? You just don't kick one of the winningest coaches to the curb just like that, okay? But at the same time, you want to move on because you want more out of your franchise than just playing games every Sunday, okay? You want a championship. I think every owner aspires to have a championship. So I see changes coming in New England, okay? Now, is Belichick finished? No. I mean, he probably still has a brilliant football mind, and that could land him into a prime position with some other team.
Yep.
Okay?
Definitely can do that.
Or Kraft could fix a program for him at New England where he's no longer coach, but he's an advisor to the new coach. Mm-hmm. Okay, so there's a lot of options out there, but I think his days as far as coaching, and like I said again, I think because it would really surprise me if he is still coach after the end of the month, okay?
Yeah.
I think it's going to take a minute.
Yeah, it could take a minute there and everything. And by the way, Duke is expected to hire New England Patriots staffer Viangelo Bentley as their cornerbacks coach. So that's who is coming from New England to over here to Durham. So he's going to be coaching the cornerbacks over there at Duke. And we'll see what he does. Apparently, he was a former Illinois starting cornerback and worked at Penn State for 3 seasons. So maybe he's going to bring some of that kind of knowledge over here to Durham and help those cornerbacks develop their skills. But I guess Duke got that big money they can afford to pay him away from New England and everything, since they got that kind of funds and all along those lines. I did have one other sports question, but before I get to that, I was going to get to a football question. So actually 2 more sports questions, everything. But, there was a team that won a Super Bowl, and it seemed like they slid into the playoffs. They are in the playoffs, and I think they're either the number 1 or the number 2 seed. But I just wondered your take on the NFL, because a lot of people are saying that Philadelphia limped into the playoffs because I think they lost several of their last games and everything. But hey, they can still make a run for the title. But then you got teams that have been on a hot streak like Detroit and even the Ravens, and even they, but the Ravens lost their last game as well. But I just wanted your take on the NFL, because this weekend we're going to start wild card weekend, and then we'll get into the meat of it, and we should have a two teams going for that championship in February. But I just wanted your take on the playoffs now that the slate has been situated. I was hoping and praying that my team that went 7-10 would find a way to win and maybe go 10-7 instead. But the Vikings didn't do anything, and I think the Panthers won like 2 games, so they might be both of them might be trying to figure out what they're going to do with their quarterbacks and their coaching situations themselves. But what is your take on the ones that are in there, like the Detroit Lions, the Green Bay Packers, and Dallas, Detroit, and a number of other teams, even some of those on the AFC like Baltimore and the Kansas City Kansas City Chiefs, as well as a number of other teams that have got a shot, like Miami and a number of others, but just even Pittsburgh Steelers. So I was wondering your take on who's going to take the title in the NFL.
Well, as far as the AFC is concerned, I think all teams have to go through Baltimore. They're going to have to come through Baltimore to get to the Super Bowl. I don't see Kansas City making a whole lot of noise this year. I think excuse me, I think this year is the Ravens' year. It's theirs to lose. They're playing some of the best football there is out there right now. Lamar Jackson, he's just showing off. So I think it's theirs to lose. Okay, it's Baltimore's game to lose. When you come to the NFC, I think you got to go through San Francisco. I mean, San Francisco is playing some good ball. They have a good, tight team. As long as they don't have any injuries, I think San Francisco will, probably finish off the season in the Super Bowl. So I'm looking forward to a Baltimore Raven, San Francisco 49er Super Bowl. And things do happen, okay? Upsets do happen, okay? Now, but I would say I would put it at an 80% chance that those two teams are going to be there. Philadelphia, on the other hand, they got too many injuries. I mean, you talking about Hurts hurt his middle finger of his throwing hand, and that's going to affect him with his ability to grasp the ball and be able to throw the ball. They got Smith is out. I don't know if Brown is going to play this weekend, so it's going to be pretty tough on him. Jeff was playing some good ball now down with Baker's Mayfield, so anything could happen. And then you got to look at, can Philadelphia come back from the last 6 losses that they've had?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they play out and everything. The other thing I was going to ask you about is, when we think about athletes, a lot of them have that corporate dollar, and that corporate dollar helps keep them funded and everything. We know about Michael and his contract with people like Nike and everything, but apparently one of them athletes decided, I think it was yesterday, to walk away from one of those big contracts. So I didn't know what you were hearing in the grapevine about Mr. Woods, and that being Tiger Woods and Nike, because apparently he has walked away from Nike. Maybe he'll pick up another sponsor that'll be like Nike, but a lot of people were surprised when they said, hey, Tiger left Nike.
Well, the thing about it, Nike has kind of got out of the business of sponsoring, golfers with clothing and everything like that. And, I think they had a good relationship, a good run, but I mean, look how long they've been together, I think it was time for them. I think Nike probably wanted to get out of the clothing business business of sponsoring golfers and their clothing line and all that kind of stuff, and move on to something else different. I mean, they're making a lot of money with tennis shoes, with sneakers, so I think that's where they wanted to go, where they wanted to be. Will somebody pick Tiger up? I mean, it doesn't hurt to be a sponsor of Tiger Woods, okay? But he's not playing on good golf right now. That's the whole thing. So if he gets a sponsor, he's not going to get the kind of money that he's looking for. Now, if I was Tiger, I would find a company and design my own line of golf clothing, golf wear. Okay? Because his name is still strong. So with that in mind, if you're wearing a Tiger Woods shirt, Tiger Woods hat, Tiger Woods golf shoes, Tiger Woods slacks, hey, goes a long ways.
Might have to get some, like you said, might have to get some of those companies to go in and get their name behind them, and maybe it's a partnership where they both win, an upstart company and Tiger with his name recognition. So that could be interesting, and that could be definitely something that is there and everything. I know when you first started off, you were talking about politics, and I did see that one of our favorite political people is up to his old tricks, but I want to hear your thoughts around this because there are two old cats. You said that we might get a new president, but either way, we're probably going to get a old president. It's just a matter of whether it's the current old president or the old president from last term and everything, unless there is some drastic changes and everything. But one of those drastic changes, and I think they're debating as we're talking, or they might be debating later on, but he came up with this old trick of asking whether Nikki Haley was eligible to be president because of her partial roots being from India and everything. So he used that argument with Ted Cruz and the fact that he was, I think, born in Canada and everything, and he used it definitely with Obama and some of his Kenyan roots. But apparently he was trying to say that she is not a natural born citizen, even though everything that I'm seeing says that she literally was born in one of the Carolinas, if I'm remembering correctly. But what is your thoughts around this Trump tactic of saying that, hey, she can't be president, she's not from here? And he tried that tactic with Obama and the Kenyan birth certificate controversy as well. So just wanted your take on Trump being up to some of his old tricks.
Well, he is up to his old tricks, and his tactics play to his base. Now, there is a mixture of some smart, educated individuals in his base, okay? Probably less than 2%, okay? But the rest of his base is the country bumpkins that, for some strange reason, like him because he's stirring the pot, okay? They won't say what he says because they know they'll get a butt kicking, They won't walk into you and I and say something stupid.
No.
But when Trump says it, it just makes their day because it's on their mind and it's what they're thinking. I think a lot of his base, enshrines racism, okay? And that's just the bottom line of it. He's talking to a base that, as far as we're concerned, we could throw out the back door like we throwing out dishwater. Okay? But he plays on the fears of people, okay? And those people are so gullible that they follow right along with the game, okay? Okay, she looks like she's an immigrant, she the features and things like that, color and everything. So, oh yeah, she was born in India. And that's all they think. That's all they think about. And then when you look at him, he's a sick individual, okay? And then just call a spade a spade. Okay, Trump is a sick individual. And for people to keep following behind him with that craziness that he commits, they just wasting their time. Because you have to be deranged, brainless, and a whole lot of other words to go after a person. The only thing you can stand on is saying that person wasn't born in the country, using the birther conspiracy. And I'm telling you, when him and Obama met in the Oval Office after the election, and he was sitting there talking about, oh, this is a good man, this is a good man, this and that. If I was Obama, I would have got there and slapped him down on national TV. Okay? I would just punched him. I mean, he would have got immunity. I mean, like that fool says you can get immunity, because you're president, So Obama would have got immunity for hitting him, But, but people are so gullible, because he's scared. He doesn't have a platform to run on other than attacking people and saying he's gonna put people in jail, So what does he do? Hey, I'll attack your heritage. But this is the thing. She doesn't say anything. DeSantis, he doesn't say nothing. They're scared of him because they don't want to lose that base, because they know if they come out, if the base starts getting close and they need his base, then they can't say nothing to him about him because they need that base. They need those numbers.
Well, even before this attack, Nikki was in a little bit of trouble herself because apparently she had a quote which people were asking about the Civil War and whether the Civil War was attached to slavery. And I get her argument around state rights and some of the other things that she was trying to bring up and everything. But the way that she answered it left a lot to be desired and everything. But I just wanted your take because even before this, the notion of whether she has the Indian heritage or not, she was losing some support in our community because of her notion of whether the Civil War was around state rights or whether it was around slavery. And she kind of ducked the question, even though she did come back later with a more correct answer and everything. But I just wanted your take on Nikki and this slave narrative that she was putting out there.
Well, that goes back to Republicans wanting to deny history, okay? They want to push history to the back burner. Now, let's just be honest, okay? All right. History is very important to any society, okay? Because you don't want to commit the wrongs of the past a second time around, okay? Do we put too much emphasis on history, or are we we are not putting enough emphasis on history? We can't walk away from history, okay? And the question was a very simple question. What caused the Civil War? And I mean, a 2-year-old kid can tell you slavery. It was one word. But the white Republican Party and some blacks want to walk away from history. They don't want to discuss it no more. Now, I buy into some people's complaints sometimes when they say they don't want to see another slave movie. That's one of the reasons that Will Smith movie didn't do so well. I mean, because you've had so many movies dealing with the brutality of slavery that people were just tired of it. The movie was a good movie, well written, well acted, but people just didn't have a taste for any more movies about slavery again.
But there was a miniseries about slavery. I actually know one of the young ladies involved with it, met some of the other people because we actually did a reception around that miniseries at the Hayti Center last month back in December and everything. But if you watched Bass Reeves about the African American sheriff and definitely involved in the law field and everything, but definitely the woman that played Bass Reeves' wife is from this area. Actually went to a very popular theater school, Hillside, and all along those lines, but definitely is got some rich history. And I understand that might have been one of the most watched shows that Paramount Plus has had, and hopefully they will get renewed and get a season 2. But season 1 seemed like it did well, and a lot of people, I don't think it was just all us that were watching it, but a lot of people were interested in that story because it was a story that hadn't been told that much. I mean, I know of at least one movie that is about Bass Reeves, but that was an independent and didn't get the kind of money that Paramount Plus would be able to put behind a miniseries and everything. And definitely wondering your thoughts around this Bass Reeves miniseries, and maybe we got to move past the slavery narrative and go into some of the narratives that were later, like around Reconstruction, because Bass would have been more around the Reconstruction.
Yeah. But can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm frozen. Okay, that's okay. Now, okay. Like I said, I think a lot of people have grown weary of movies about slavery that portray a lot of brutality. Okay, and I agree with you. We need to not move past slavery, but we need to bring some of the things that they happened during slavery, after slavery, with Reconstruction, because we were great participants in Reconstruction. Okay, we were politicians. Louisiana I believe his name was Pinckney, was his last name. Was the first black governor down there. I actually know one of his distant cousins that lives here in Maryland, a friend of mine. So they were senators, they were congressmen, they held all kinds of offices. Okay, but then you went from the Reconstruction to after 1900. And then white folks got saying, wait a minute, black folks getting too many liberties here, okay? They got too many freedoms. They trying to act like us, okay? Then we had the downfall of the black community as we know it, one of the biggest, and I think a lot of people don't realize, one of the biggest insurrections, the only insurrection, took place in Wilmington, North Carolina.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
When common sense whites that were running the government in Wilmington were overran by racist, excuse the expression, guys, you got to listen to it, racist Democrats, okay? Mm-hmm. Republicans were in charge, and they were cool with what was going on in Wilmington. But you had the white Democrats that were racist. They didn't like what was going on. And, hey, it happened, okay? They took the government over there. I mean, they actually went in there and took city government over, ran the current government out. Mm-hmm. Okay? A lot of people, and I think that movie, what was Wilmington? What was the name of that movie? I can't even think of the name of it now.
Yeah, another movie you're talking about, but yeah, it's a movie that talked about the Wilmington uprisings and everything of that nature. But yeah, there's been a couple movies about that. Actually.
Yeah, it was a great documentary. I mean, the people who did the work on it did an excellent job on it. Bringing out the newspaper articles and paperwork during that time, and how, eventually the town bank had to close down because the guy was basically using the bank to give all his friends money, and that kind of stuff, So we need to talk, and that's the history we really need to follow up on. Wilmington, Tulsa, Rosewood, things of that nature. Talking about how we impacted, movies about how we impacted the growth of the United States, okay? And how we contributed to the United States.
And we definitely need more movies like that, that's for sure, and everything. And I had a friend I actually had interview, speaking of movies and play, actually interviewed on one of my audio podcasts. His wife, who's got a theater play, but it's a longtime friend of mine that is a stand-up comedian, and he's actually probably later on this evening, if he's not already there, him and his wife are probably hanging out at another friend's open mic that goes on here in Durham on a regular basis and everything. But Gravedigger is a stand-up comedian. He can do either Christian comedy or he can do other kind of comedy. But he told me after the interview that he has done a couple of shows that people would not expect and everything. Because, sometimes it's about a matter of green. So he told me that he's actually performed for the client. And this is a brother. I mean, he does not look like anything but a brother. It's definitely about your complexion and everything. But as he put it, he just told him in the contract, I won't tell any jokes, and y'all don't bring any sticks and rope to the event, and we can have a good laugh and everything. And he even told jokes on them as people and everything. So I just wondered whether you would ever be bold enough to go to a meeting of folks that don't like you, and maybe are even some of those Trump supporters, and maybe you already do that in Maryland. Because when he told me that, I'm sitting there going like, that takes some kahunas to go there and do a comedy show in front of a group that is not your biggest fans, but like
you ain't lying.
Sometimes you got to go for the money.
They can't stand you. Now, this is okay. Years ago, on one of my shows that I was doing, when I was on the other network doing Real World News, we interviewed a gentleman from up here who has, I can't even think of his name now. I would have to go back and look through some old videos to find his name, who's actually, he didn't infiltrate the Ku Klux Klan, but he was able to, he met a person who had gotten out of the Klan, and that person was able to hook him up with other members, current members of the Klan, okay? This was probably about 5 or 6 years ago. Yeah. And he went in, and I believe he wrote a book, and I believe he's been on national TV, but I interviewed him like twice. And he could tell you some stories of things that he learned. He went in there and, hey, he just talked to him, interviewed him and everything, just interviewed him. Like I said, this was probably about 5, 6 years ago, no more than 7 years ago that I interviewed him. And like I said, I interviewed him twice. And he had some good, it was awesome, and he's a musician too, because he has a band. Okay. And they play a lot of local venues right here. He's probably in our age group. Okay. But I can't think of his name right now. But he went in there.
I know that's right. Sometimes you got to be bold.
Yeah, he got some good stuff. He can tell you some stories about what he saw and what happened and everything, he can tell,
Yeah, I believe it. Those would be some fascinating stories. Maybe we'll get him on this show or some of the other people
yeah,
like
I
that
gotta
on some
look
of these
through.
shows.
Yeah, I got a couple people. Maybe my old co-host, she remembers his name,
Yeah,
but
maybe they can.
Lord have mercy, man. To hear some of that stuff. And hey, they were honest with him. It was an honest interview. They were honest with him.
That's all we have
So
is honesty. It's why people do what they do. Don't say you have to agree with them or anything, but sometimes it's just interesting to find out why they do what they do. I had on my show earlier today a woman that is First Nation roots and everything. She got some other roots, and there were a number of people of various roots that were on that show, the online dinner party that I do and everything. But she was talking about how she lives in Montana now and is actually living on one of the reservations, and she literally was looking out her windows and had not seen any snow recently, which we know that is rare in Montana. And of course, we
right.
just got battered by some rain and some tornadoes yesterday. But you still got some people out there that think that climate change isn't real, even though they say that this last year, 2023, was one of the hottest years ever. And I think we only came a few decimal points away from that warning temperature that they were saying that we didn't want to get to, and it was not supposed to come for another 20 years or something. But apparently we got it
But
very
we
close
did.
to it.
We did jump on that warning temperature. We did a couple of days. We did go like a degree or two above the warning temperature. Back in the summer. I don't think it was in the summer. I think it was in September when we broke a record and crossed over. Into that. So I mean, people got. We need to realize that climate change is for real.
Yeah.
After all that rain we had up here last night and yesterday, climate change is real along with the winds and stuff, But, getting back to the politics and things, I just think a lot of what the Republican Party does today, and, I'm not going to say all Republicans, but a lot of what's happening in the Republican Party now is being driven by racism.
Mm-hmm.
It's just driven by racism. I came across an article today from the news outlet Raw Story, and the title of the article was "Why Marjorie Taylor Greene is Challenging Centuries of Racist Rhetoric." Okay, now, and I won't be. Somebody might get upset for me saying it like I'm gonna say it, but they go as close as they can and calling us a nigga without calling us a nigga. Okay, that's just the bottom line of okay. That's their thinking there. So what they do, they jump on certain issues in the world now or here in the United States that shows that displeasure with certain things like DEIs for one thing or diversity equity. They can't stand that. They don't like that. Her thing is a business should only provide the service and take care of the customers. That's all they should do. They shouldn't be doing this and this and this. So they're trying to cut around the corner and do certain things and say certain things without saying it. Okay. Now, if you're smart, you understand what's going on.
No, I think you can even see that to some degree, and I'd love to hear your thoughts around this. But if I look at the two biggest conflicts that are going on right now, and I have my theories, but do you think that's part of the reason that a lot of people that are in the Republican Party and just in general support Ukraine in the Ukraine-Russia war is because a lot of the Ukrainians look very much like them? They're very European oriented and European centric, and on the side of Israel and Palestine, they mostly support Israel. And while Israel is very much a mixed bag of culture, most of the leadership looks very European oriented and everything. And if you look at most of the Palestinians, they definitely look like they would be people of color. So I'm wondering if you think that might play into who we choose to support as well, because definitely when I'm looking at that, I'm thinking about like
play into
even Cuba and Haiti and everything.
Yeah, it does play into it. You look at what first of all, Israel has a right to protect themselves. Okay, what Hamas did was terrible. Okay, I mean, I can't even fathom when I look back on October 7th, I see, the pictures and the news reports and stuff. I can't even fathom what those people went through that morning. Okay,
Right.
now, And so they have the right to go after Hamas, but do you go after Hamas at the price of killing so many civilians? That's where I came back moms around. Because the thing is, you pushing people away from their homes and stuff and your main goal is to destroy Hamas. How can you destroy Hamas in the way that you're doing? Because if you continue doing what you're doing and continue killing innocent bystanders, their children are going to be so upset at you that they're going to go join Hamas. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, okay, big news break. They've killed commanders and killed some of the top leaders of Hamas. You think them guys didn't prepare other people to take their spot?
Mm-hmm.
Those guys went out there every day knowing that one day Israel going to catch up with them and kill them. They know that. So you think they didn't pass that information on how to be a terrorist onto somebody else below them? Okay? And I think I said on one other show last year, the countries, Egypt, Jordan, and all those countries don't even want the Palestinians.
Right.
They discriminate against them. It's like, and sometimes when you look at the Palestinians, you see us, what we went through here in this country to get to where we are now. Okay? So that's one of the problems you have. And Israel, and I came across the article that I didn't read it completely, but and they were talking about why Israel is trying to push the Palestinians out of the Gaza Strip. They want them gone.
Yeah.
But Egypt doesn't want them. So they're a group of people, there are 2 million people that don't have a place to go.
Got no home, and in some cases the home has been blown up and all along the line. So they got no place really to go, and that's part of the conversation. I've even had some people that are trying to make the argument that Hamas and the Palestinians are one and the same, and I'm like, no, Hamas is a terrorist organization. I don't think anybody doubts that. But then you got some people that have seen Palestinians celebrating when certain things were going on with Hamas, and I'm going like, that still does not mean that that's all the people. And also, if you've got somebody putting a foot on your neck, then somebody tries to relieve that foot pressure, then you might get out there and celebrate if you think that it is going to relieve the pressure and everything. So I get both sides of that argument, but I've had some people saying that it's all the Palestinians, and they were out there jumping and shouting and celebrating. I'm going like, one, that was Hamas that did the terrorist attack, and two, I can understand the reasoning that some people might celebrate if they're thinking that things might get better should there be a change in government. I'll just put it that way and everything.
Yeah, it's never gonna get better. I mean, look how long this conflict's been going on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even and look how long Yasser Arafat has been dead.
Right.
I mean, it's been going on for a long time.
It's been going on for at least decades, but I mean, you can look at some other ones that have been going on even longer than that. Because we can even go into Europe. How long has Ireland been at England's throat? That's probably been a couple of centuries. And even though we don't hear about it as much, the IRA, the Ireland, I forget what that stands for, but it's like the Ireland, their version of an Irish terrorist group and everything. They've been
it was Revolution,
Irish Republic Army,
Republican Army or Revolution Army, one of the two, Republican or Revolutionary. But I mean, so they've been at odds. So you do have a lot of groups that are at odds with their countries at times, okay? And it shows, but here in the United States, we got a mess, and somehow it's got to be cleaned up. But I don't know if, I think our system is too far broken to really get it cleaned up as it was before 45 took office.
Yeah, speaking of 45, I looked it up. Ironically, it is the Irish Republican Army. So that was a name used by various paramilitary organizations in Ireland through the 20th and 21st century.
Yeah.
And our organizations by this name have been dedicated to anti-imperialism through Irish republicanism, the belief that all Ireland should be an independent republic free from British rule. So they've been out there for a while. And that's actually something we were talking about even on my show earlier today, is the impact of colonialism just on the world. And even though there's not been as much colonialism now, it's still impacting us even in the year of 2024.
Yeah. And can you look at when Queen Elizabeth died,
Mm-hmm.
those countries in Africa that are still colonized by England, they could have cared less.
Oh,
They
no.
made their feelings known.
Yeah, some of them were glad, and they made it known that they were glad and everything.
Yeah.
You know, there was another thing that was in the news, entertainment-wise. I'm gonna play just a quick video because apparently somebody got themselves into all kinds of trouble because they went on. Speaking of athletes, they went on Shannon Sharp's show, and then they made these accusations about certain entertainers being part of the Illuminati, certain entertainers selling their soul to the devil, and a number of other things that they swore up and down. So I'm gonna let you check out Bruce's response, and then I'll hear what you got to say about it and everything.
Steve was, I used to dress in hip hop, Carl Canal. You remember
back
Carl
in the
Canal,
day.
Sean John? I'm on stage with it. Steve said, that stuff, you got on look good when you're traveling.
Mm-hmm.
He said, when you go on stage, you need to give him something. Suits. So that's what made me start wearing suits. And, a lot of these comedians in big places, in big positions, they do take jokes from the little guys. You know what I'm saying? They do steal them. And Cat, he was just calling out everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, when he said something about earthquake, I was like, whoa. Whoa.
Yeah, that was deep.
The earthquake was he couldn't read. I was, that hurt.
Is that true?
No, that's not true. I thought you were talking about me. You know what I'm saying? I said, I know he ain't finna call. I can't read that good. But he did his thing, and his ratings gonna be good. His tickets gonna sell out.
Tickets is going bananas.
Yeah,
they jacked the prices up.
Of course.
So, in your opinion, is Cat Williams relevant to you?
I think so.
So you heard that? He also said that comedians steal jokes from each other as well. But any thoughts around this Cat Williams controversy? Because there are a number of people that came out and even responded. I've even got another one if you want to hear it of Cedric's response also, because Cedric had a response.
I tell you, I like Cat Williams, okay? And I like most comedians, okay? But I really like Cat Williams because he's funny. I mean, cusses too much for him, but he's funny, and I like him. I don't know what got Cat, what side of the bed that morning he got up that made him decide this is what he want to talk about and what he wants to push. But I think a lot of it's true, a lot of it's true. Because like he said, with his Halloween joke or something, Steve Harvey did it word for word.
Mm-hmm.
Now I haven't, and I don't listen to Steve Harvey because I mean he's all right. I'm not a big fan of him. So I don't know what he said as far as his comments concerning. I haven't heard what his comments were towards Cat Williams, saying that he stole one of his jokes. And I think it probably happens all the time. Sometimes they might not steal the joke word for word, but they might take bits and pieces of it, okay, and create their own, joke. I don't know, but I think
the other thing that he said that was interesting was he talked about how a number of the comedians, he said he wouldn't do it, but a number of the comedians were getting into this notion, this kind of the Tyler Perry notion of having to wear a dress in order to be successful and everything. So he did kind of crack on that and everything. And he did mention some people, not just Tyler, but I'm sure he could have even mentioned Flip Wilson back in the day. And he could have definitely mentioned Eddie Murphy and a couple of others that have done the dress routine and everything. But I was just wondering your thoughts, because I think he was trying to make the kind of insinuation that it was a way to emasculate our black males that are performers.
I don't think so. Man, look back on Flip Wilson. Now, when Flip Wilson came out, dressed as, I forgot what his character was.
Geraldine,
yeah. Did anybody say that? Didn't nobody say a word. Okay? And it came down through the years when Jamie Foxx, Wanda on Living Color, nobody said nothing about that. It just kept coming. I think one of the things that has happened when it came, and this is not because of the regular people out here on the street, it's because preachers in the church start fussing and talking about it, okay? That's when it started having a fit about it, okay? When the whole thing came out about, LGBTQ community and things of that nature, that's when you started seeing preachers was talking about this. Then all of a sudden they threw this into the pot about actors dressing as women. Then you had a few non-preachers commenting on it, the Farrakhan's and all that kind of stuff, other organizations are saying that it was affecting black masculinity. I just think it was them having a good time and finding another way to make us laugh. Okay, Medea has made me laugh. Okay, it's made me laugh. I ain't look at Tyler Perry in a different way. I was, it was just funny. It was just funny. But look, man, I did hear one thing from a preacher the other day was talking about. He said when you go to church and look around church, all them big mamas in them churches, you tell me they couldn't find one big mama to make her a comedian and train her to make her be funny. And the preacher did have a good point there, because some of these churches, you do find some big mamas up in them churches, okay?
So definitely some big mamas up in the church, any church and everything. But speaking of churches having interesting attitudes and everything, we might have a brother, that's what we want to call him, running our state and everything, because he's already put out his, and he did that right after the attack. He did his declaration of solidarity, declaring a week of solidarity with Israel and a day of prayer throughout the state. And he did that like a few days after the October 7th incident. But yeah, he is definitely looking at being lieutenant governor, that being Mark Robinson. And there are some folks that say he may actually have a shot at it and everything, because he might even run against another brother, but right now who's a judge. But right now it looks like it's going to be him against Josh Stein, who's our attorney general and everything. But what is your take on this? And will we have to have this conservative gentleman be our governor next year in 2025, or has he got a no shot? But he could ride the coattails of that person we were talking about earlier. He could ride.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing. You're looking at it again as the reconstruction of the South, okay? Because there were times during the Reconstruction of the South that blacks ran against blacks and whites voted for them and put them in those positions and stuff. And I think North Carolina is in a unique position at this time, because I think overall North Carolina is a purple state, but you've got to get blacks to realize they're a Democrat. They got to go out and vote, okay? Right. And they got to realize if this guy gets into office, and then the other knucklehead gets back in office, you got a mess down there, okay? So I say it's a 50-50 chance. He could win it, just because we're not going to vote like we need to vote. And then what has happened, a lot of the gerrymandering, not so much the gerrymandering, but I think a couple of years ago, maybe 3, 4, 5 years ago, they closed down a bunch of the motor vehicle license offices around the state to make it harder for blacks to go out and get IDs and license so they could vote. Putting the nearest one 75 miles from where you live.
Oh, Reggie, it's not just that. My ID, because as I said on this show, and I've said it several times, I don't drive, so you have to make an appointment. And even though we're well past COVID, I just actually, because my ID is expired and is needing to be re-upped and everything, and I just set up my appointment. You would think I would have been able to get it this week and everything. My appointment is set for March, so we're talking 2 months from now, because that's how backlogged they are and everything. So I literally made the call yesterday, and that was the first available date. And I want to say it's middle March. I could look it up and everything, but it's middle March because they're still backlogged off of the pandemic. So like I said, I gotta wait 2 months to get a updated ID and everything, because they're that backlogged.
And the Republicans ain't gonna make it no easier down there, because they thinking that all that backlog is black Democrats.
Right.
So they ain't trying to put money into the offices that allow people to work overtime to do it. Right. So I think you're gonna find that North Carolina's gonna be one of those unique states. Now Virginia, because they have flipped the script on the Republicans in Virginia, I see Virginia electing a Democratic governor the next time around. And then like I said, with some hard work down in North Carolina, whoever runs as a Democrat could win.
Yeah, but like you said, because even what you just said earlier, because it's not just it's the ID situation, but it's the gerrymandering. Because I want to say that one of our liberal Democrats has actually said that he's not going to run because it has been gerrymandered in such a way that he wouldn't win, that being Wiley Nichols. So he's already declared that he's not going to run for his seat because it's been gerrymandered out of his having a real good shot of winning and everything. So he's already declared that he's not.
But your guy down in Wilson or Goldsboro, he lost his race.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he lost his race because of the simple fact, you know, he had been in that seat for as long as I've been born. He's been in that seat, you know, for years. And because they redistricted him, he lost his seat, you know.
Yeah, you're talking about Butterfield. Butterfield lost his seat. GK Butterfield, I believe, is the one there too.
But Butterfield, didn't a lady win his seat? A black lady?
I think it was somebody else that won his seat. I'm going to look it up, but yeah, GK Butterfield lost the seat, and somebody else took it over recently and everything. So he represented up until 2022 and everything. So yeah, he's like I said, he stepped down last 2 years ago now and everything. But
and like I said, you got your state delegate or state senator down at Wilson or Goldsboro lost his seat just because they redid the district, you know, and purposely put him in a district that they didn't nobody know him and what he had done so he could lose, you know.
Yeah, because I think Erica Smith might have been the one. Because I know that there was Don Davis is the one that Butterfield endorsed, and then there was a Erica Smith that was running as well. I'm trying to remember who won that seat or who won that took over that seat if anybody's got it. But I do know that he is no longer there and hasn't been there since 2022. Just out of curiosity, because I was thinking about this when we were talking about those country bumpkins, and one of my shows that I used to enjoy watching way back in the day was the Beverly Hillbillies and everything. So who do you think, is just you personally, Reggie, would Granny and Jethro and trying to think of the woman's name, the Jethro's sister, and also Jed Clampett voted for if they had stuck around in the South and everything and had this choice to elect a president in this particular time?
You know who they would have voted for? The orange head.
They all would have voted for the orange head? You think they all?
I think that's who they would have voted for, the orange head.
You think every last one of them would have voted for the orange head?
Because they were from Kentucky. Tennessee, one of the states in the song, you know, so.
Yes, they were from Kentucky. They found that Texas crude oil, you mean?
yeah. But if you look at a lot of those actors and actresses, you know, I've always been surprised when they come out and say they're Republican because of their liberalness when they do the shows. Okay.
Oh yeah.
But one of the guys that comes out is a guy who did Home Improvement. Strong Republican, you know. And then Tim Allen, you know. So, and a lot of those guys say they don't come out as with their political affiliation because Hollywood is such a liberal work environment. They scared they won't get work once they come out.
Yeah. You know? And it does look like Davis did win that seat. I was just looking it over and everything. So it looks like Davis beat that woman, Sandy Smith, and that's who it looks like might have got the seat right now and everything. So I'm thinking that Don Davis is who has the seat if I'm looking at this correctly and everything. But yeah, you're right about that. But, you know, a lot of times they also get caught up in those scandals because, you know, that list came out as well. And apparently Mr. Trump's name was on that list, but so was Mr. Clinton's. And I'm sure there were some actors and everybody else because folks were looking forward to seeing who was on that list. And I understand that there are quite a few names that were on that list, including two of our past presidents that were maybe visiting Epstein Island. Now, some people say they were visiting for altruistic reasons. Like I think I've heard that Clinton might have been down there getting money for a certain foundation that he's part of, but who knows what they were doing down there. They might have been also doing things that they shouldn't have been doing with underage folks and everything. So were there any names that you saw on that list? And I haven't looked at the whole list, but I do know that it came out and it's got some names out there. Were there any that you was going like, I didn't expect him to be there?
No. Because that's how rich white men live, okay? Sad to say. You know, so you know, those guys, they circulate around in a group that, you know, they doing the crazy stuff, you know, think they ain't gonna get caught.
They think they're not gonna get caught. Apparently just yesterday they had some new names that were released. So they released some new names on Tuesday and everything. So they've got
Yeah.
new names. So every time you turn around, they releasing some new names. And like I said, they did have former President Clinton's name on there, and they did have Trump's name, and they had a couple of other ones as well. But yeah, there's a bunch of those names on there. So why people might have been going over there to that secret island and all along those lines. So definitely.
But one name surprised me was Michael Jackson.
Yeah, that one did surprise me. I was because his name did appear there, just like
he must have been doing a concert or something for him. Because I don't know. I don't know about Michael Jackson. That was a surprise right there. That surprised me.
Well, I mean, I might be surprised because I just saw this name, and he would have already had access to many beautiful women, so he could have had them just on his own and everything. But apparently, the former Victoria's Secret billionaire Les Wexner was on the list as well. So I'm going like, wait a minute, aren't you the man that helps run Victoria's Secret? That ain't nothing but pretty women and model types and everything. So, but what were they doing that they were offering so special that you couldn't get from your already Victoria's Secret folks that are already in your idea? And apparently a famous MIT AI researcher, Marvin Minsky, was on the list as well. Of course, some other governors and other things. So, I mean, I might get it with some of the folks that are in the kind of certain entertainment things that aren't necessarily in the line. But some of them I was sitting there going like, huh? That one I didn't get. And they also said that both Al Gore and Tipper Gore, we all know that Tipper was one of the main people behind kind of the fight against some of the lyrics in songs. So I'm like, well, so you're going to argue against the song, but then you're going to go down to the island. I'm a little confused.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure some of the people who went down to the island might not have known what else he was up to down on that island.
That's true.
And so they were probably just innocent by just associating with him because he was a wealthy individual. And he probably had dinners and parties at his house. But he probably had one set of friends for one different thing and another set for another thing, Yeah,
so, and not everybody may not have known all the things like you're saying that he was involved in. So there might have been some folks that were down there that did not have an idea of all of the escapades that were going on in that particular area and everything, and they might not have been all participating. And like I said, it's oftentimes amazing to me when these folks can get the wealth and buy these kind of massive properties. I think we talked about it on one of these other shows before. That lady that was the actress that bought part of, I think it was area in Georgia. It was either Georgia or South Carolina that one of the actresses bought pretty much that entire city. And apparently he bought an entire island. I've heard even some brothers and sisters that have got islands that they have bought and everything. So I guess if you got the money, you can go buy your own little land mass.
That's right.
Have and everything. So I'm expecting there to be a Reginald Kearney island off the coast of Maryland at some point or another. Maybe you put some horses out there, because I was talking to somebody earlier today and we were talking about that island is off of South Carolina that still has the wild horses and all in that nature. So maybe you can get some wild horses off of Maryland, and that could be.
We do have I can't think of the name of it, and we do have an island that does have wild horses here in the state of Maryland.
Oh, cool.
So we out there too. Okay. Well, look, man, let's roll, man. Let's roll.
This is a good conversation. I just was trying to keep you going and everything, but I'll get ready to hit that little intro, outro, and we'll get ready to get on out here. But you'll be back at your regular time on Tuesday, possibly just me and you kicking it, or there might be some guests that you're lining up. But it's always good seeing you and hearing what's going on with the Urban Sentinel. And by next week, we might have some winners and everything. We do have a new national champion. The Michigan Wolverines did win the national championship.
That's right.
In the college football. And I think next year we're going to have more teams participating, because I don't think it's
12.
12,
well, look, it's going up to 12 teams next year, the top 12. And somebody that comes in at 13, 14, or 15, or 16 going to be fussing why they're not in the top 12.
Doesn't matter what you do. Hey, don't people still fuss in basketball? And that's got 64 or something, 68. And whoever number 70 is like, I should have been there.
So it's still going to happen. You're not going to please number 13, 14, 15, 16. They're going to be fussing next year. Watch and see. I know. I see it coming already. Well, look, everyone, thanks for tuning in to the Urban Sentinel show tonight. I'm sorry I'm frozen, but at least you got to stare at me for a while, but you did hear my voice. So come back next Tuesday night. We'll do it all over again. Until then, have a great week and be safe. Talk to you later. Okay, Mark, holler at you, man.
Sounds good.
Okay.